Hello viewers, welcome to UN Digital class. In today's lecture, I am going to discuss about robotics. Let us start. First of all, what are robots? Robots are multifunctional, reprogrammable, automatic industrial machine designed for replacing human in hazardous work. That means here robot is nothing but it is a machine, and this machine is a multifunctional, reprogrammable and automatic machine which replace the human being in hazardous work. Now take one example. Suppose there is some situation where a human being have to defuse the bomb. In this situation we can use the robots to defuse that bomb. Then next, robots can be work as an automatic machine sweeper, and it also works in space, and a machine removing mines in a war field, and robots also used as a automatic car for child to play. And here robots also used in our military. These are the different cases where we can use the robots. Next, what are the objectives of robotics? Here, robots are aimed at manipulating the objects by perceiving, picking, moving, modifying the physical properties of object and destroying it or to have an effect, thereby freeing manpower from doing repetitive functions without getting bored, distracted or exhausted. That means here the main objective of robots is nothing but it is just replacing the human being work or just simplifying the human being work without getting bored, distracted or exhausted. And here you must remember that the robots are not the replacement of human being, but here the robots are used to assist the human being or to help the human being in their work. And the robots can also be used in the hazardous work field where it is very difficult for the human being to work in that situation. For example, defusing bomb. For defusing bomb, this situation is very dangerous for a human being. In this case, we can use the robot to defuse that bomb. Next, what is robotics? Robotics is a branch of artificial intelligence, and it is mainly composed of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering and computer science engineering for construction designing of robots. That means the robotics is nothing but it is the branch of artificial intelligence, because the main aim of artificial intelligence is to design a machine which behave like human being and act like human being. Here robot is that machine which take the input from the environment and it act upon that input and give the output to that environment according to the human instruction. And here the robotics is not only the computer science, here the robotics is branch of artificial intelligence, but it is composed of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering and also computer science engineering. Then next, the main aim of robotics is to design an efficient robot. The next aspect of robotics. The robots have electrical components for providing power and control the machinery. That means here we know that robot is nothing but it is a machine, and for that machine it requires the electrical component for providing the power and control to that machine. Then next, they have mechanical construction, shape or form designed to accomplish a particular task. That means here we design a robot for performing a particular task by giving it some shape and the construction. Next, it contains some type of computer program that determines what, when and how a robot does something. That means in this case the robot contains some computer programming, and according to that programming the robot performs its tasks. Which means here you have to remember that when we design a robot, that robot must consist of some hardware and some software. Here the hardware parts are the composition of electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, and the software part is the computer program or computer science engineering. For this reason, the robotics is called as branch of artificial intelligence, which composed of electrical engineering, mechanical engineering and computer engineering. Then next, robotics history. Here, first use of the word robotics. The word robot was first introduced to public by French writer Karel Kepke in his play Rusmus Universal Robots, that is RUR, published in 1920. The play begins with a factory that makes artificial people known as robots, and the word robotics was coined accidentally by the Russian-born American scientist Isaac Asimov in 1940s. Then next, the three laws of robotics. Here, the Isaac Asimov also proposed his three laws of robotics, and he later added a 0th law. Now look at the 0th law. A robot is not allowed to injure humanity, or through inaction it allows humanity to come to harm. That means here the 0th law says that the robotics does not harm the humanity. Now look at the first law. Here the first law says that a robot cannot injure a human being, or through inaction it allows a human being to come to harm unless it would violate the higher order law. Which means here the law says that the robot cannot harm a human being, or the human being cannot harm the robot unless it would violate the higher order law. Now look at the second law. The second law says that a robot should follow the orders given it by human beings, except when such orders given by humans would conflict with a higher order law. That means this second law says that the robot always follows the human being instructions, and according to that instruction it performs its tasks. But it violates the instruction when there is some conflict in that instruction. Now look at the third law. Here the third law says that a robot is allowed to protect its own existence as long as such protection would not conflict with a higher order law. That means this law says that the robot always protects its existence as long as the protection would not conflict with the higher order law. These are the laws of robotics. Next, components of robotics. Now look at this figure. This figure shows the different component of robotics. Here the first component is voice synthesis. Then next one is the emotions. Then embedded CPU with Wi-Fi. Next one is LiPo battery. Then next 25 degree of freedom. Then next one is the voice recognition, and next two cameras. Then switchable head. Then next one is prehensive hands. Then next Linux operating system, and last one is the 23 inches. These are the different components of robot. Now look at the some important component of the robot. Here this figure shows the key components of robotics. First one is the power conversion unit, second one is the sensor, then actuator, then the controller, then next one is the user interface, and last one is the manipulator linkage base. These are the key components of robotics. Now I am going to discuss each component one by one. Now look at the first component, that is the power supply. Here the working power to the robot is provided by batteries, hydraulic, solar power or pneumatic power sources. That means we know that robot is a machine which is activated when it is connected with some power supply or power source. For this reason, here the power supply is given by the batteries or hydraulic or solar power or pneumatic power sources. These are the different power sources of the robot. The next one is the actuators. You must know that what is actuators, because actuators are the energy conversion device used inside a robot. And the major function of actuator is to convert energy into environment, because in my first lecture I have discussed about the actuator, and there I have told you actuator is nothing but these are the different machines which is basically used by the artificial intelligence agent to perform some tasks on the environment. That means here the actuator are the energy conversion device, and which is basically used to convert the energy into the movement. That means when a robot wants to perform some tasks, then it must use its actuator to perform that task. And here actuators are nothing but these are the output device of the robot through which the robot gives the output to the environment. For example, you can say that the hands and legs of robot are nothing but these are the actuators. Next one is the electric motors, that may be DC motor or AC motor. Here motors are electromechanical component used for converting electrical energy into its equivalent mechanical energy. In robots, motors are used for providing rotational movement. That means here the electric motors are basically used for rotational movement, and these rotational movements are performed when the robot takes some object or picks some object in his hand, or it gives some output to the environment. By using its hand, at that timing the rotational movements are required, and for performing these rotational movement, these electric motors, that may be the DC motor or AC motor, are used. Then next one is the sensor. Here sensors provide real-time information on the task environment, and robots are equipped with tactile sensor. It imitates the mechanical properties of touch receptors of human fingerprints, and a vision sensor is used for computing the depth in the environment. That means here the sensor is nothing but this is the input device through which the robot takes the input from its task environment, and there is different types of sensors, and these sensors are used for different purpose. Next one is the controller. Here controller is a part of robot that coordinates all motions of the mechanical system, and it also receives an input from immediate environment through various sensors. And the heart of the robot's controller is a microprocessor linked with the input, output and monitoring device. And the command issued by the controller activates the motion controller mechanism consisting of various controllers, actuators and amplifiers. That means here the controller is nothing but it is a part of the robot which is basically used to control all the activities of a robot. That means how the robot takes the input and how these inputs are processed and how the robot gives the output to the environment. All these things are controlled by this controller. And here the heart of the robot controller is the microprocessor, which is basically linked with the input and output and monitoring device. The next applications of robotics. The robotics has been instrumental in the various domains such as industries. Here, robots are used for handling material, cutting, welding, color coding, drilling, polishing and others. That means in industry we can use the robot for handling the material and cutting and color coding and for drilling and polishing and some other activities. The robots are used. Next, military. In military, autonomous robots can reach inaccessible and hazardous zones during war. That means in military we use the robot for assessing the hazardous activity. Here a robot named DAX, developed by Defense Research and Development Organization, that is DRDO, is in function to destroy life-threatening objects safely. Then next one is the medicine. Here the robots are capable of carrying out hundreds of clinical tests simultaneously, rehabilitating permanently disabled people and performing complex surgeries such as brain tumors. That means in medicine we can also use the robots for performing different tests simultaneously and rehabilitating the permanently disabled people and performing some complex surgery like the brain tumor. The next one is the exploration. Here the robot rock climbers used for space exploration, underwater drone used for ocean exploration are to name a few. That means we can use the robots for space exploration as well as the ocean exploration, where these activities are difficult for the human being, but the robot can easily perform all these activities in space and in the ocean. Then next, entertainment. Disney's engineers have created hundreds of robots for movie making. That means these robots can also used in our movie making for entertainment. These are the various applications of robotics. Here you must remember that robotics is nothing but it is a part of artificial intelligence, because the main aim of artificial intelligence is to design a machine which act like human being and behave like human being. Here this robot is nothing but this is the machine which act like human being and behave like human being according to the human being instruction. And this robot is not only the part of computer science, but also it is composed of electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, because the hardware part consists the electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, and the software part consists the computer engineering. This is all about the robotics. If you have any doubt regarding this robotics, then you can ask me through comment. I will discuss about your doubt. Thank you for watching.